Hey, so you asked me the other day, you said, how did I get the deal in Geisinger? What were the steps that we did? And I appreciate an opportunity to share that with you. So you can ask me any questions you want about it. But it started small. If you go back, I took over the account about a year ago, June of last year actually, and we had
So
a
they
customer.
already have,
They had our products, but they hadn't bought from us in like 6 years.
what products do they have?
They had iProcess. They actually bought it from Staffware, the original owner of the product, and then they actually became our customer because we acquired that company. So their experience with TIPCO came that way. So they never really dealt directly with TIPCO other than through the transition of us buying the company.
Was there another rep before you that was assigned to the account, and do you know
There's actually been a few reps assigned to the account.
Do you know if they ever got in there to talk to the account?
I'm sure they visit the account.
Okay.
What the good news on the account is we had the same SE on the account for that period, which was Stuart Hudis, which is great. So he knew at least the lay of the land. He knew the people in the account. He knew where we were in terms of positioned as a company. So it was great to be able to rely on him
Sure.
to help us as we move forward. But we both looked at
Stuart.
it. Yeah, it was a great job. And we both looked at it and we said, you know, our situation here is we don't know what they've been doing. We really don't. We don't know what they want to do, and we sure don't know what they can do. So we went in with a really simple strategy. I called it the 3 R's. I presented it to my management team a year ago. Rebuild, repair, and revenue. And that was a pretty simple strategy. You know, you got to rebuild the account, right? You got to repair the account because it hadn't been loved.
Right.
And then you got to get revenue out of the account. So we worked on that, and we started working around the account. We got our first small opportunity. It was a CBON migration, and we really didn't get a lot of play in it because we hadn't had a presence in the account. So they actually wound up doing nothing. They still have CBON. So we think down the road we're going to get another shot at that.
Okay.
But what happened is, as we were working around the account, we saw that we were gaining a lot of notoriety over the iProcess side, and we had a really staunch supporter over there, David Pardish.
Okay.
And he worked with us. He became one of our coaches in the account. Not a champion, couldn't get the money, but what he did do is he helped us to understand the account, the new lay of the land. A new CIO came in on the insurance side. To tell you about Geisinger a little bit, they both are a provider and they are a payee. So they have an insurance side of their business and they have a hospital. They buy lots of hospitals. They're a regional hospital and they're growing in the central Pennsylvania. For example, they just bought a hospital in Bloomsburg, they bought another hospital in Scranton, and they bought another hospital in Wilkes-Barre.
I'm sniffing out patterns opportunities.
Bingo,
Okay.
perfect opportunity for growth, right? Because what's happening is their challenge is how do you integrate all of those different hospitals? And most importantly, and this is where your opportunity will be, I believe, probably in the next 3 or 4 months, is that now they have patients, and those patients are being provided insurance maybe by Blue Cross Blue Shield, maybe by Aetna. They have an opportunity to grow their insurance side of the business, and that's where we wound up playing. So one of the first things that happened is I got a call one Friday night, cute story. I'm sitting there, it's a Friday night, just had closed a deal in Tufts, which was nice. And the CIO calls me and she says, Lou, I'm the new CIO, my name is Kathy Bennett. She said, we have a problem here, we want to be able to use iProcess, we have a BPM issue, we want to know if you can help us out. Great opportunity, so, you know.
So I'll try, let me see what I can do.
Yeah, let me see, yeah, I said, let me finish my vodka tonic. You know, it's Friday night, but I'll get on this first next Wednesday or Thursday. But actually, it was funny, on Monday I talked to Martin Espinola, our PSG rep, and he did a yeoman's job because challenges, they hadn't done business with us for a while, no PSG in the account, right? And here we have to get an SOW, we have to respond to the new CIO, and we have to be able to do this in a short window. Short window for PSG, unfortunately, this took about 2 months because we had to go through contracts, we had to go through staffing. That first deal probably was about $50,000, $60,000 of product.
And how long ago was this that she called you?
That was last November. So we actually
wound up. About a year, that's what I thought, before I went over to the partner team. Okay.
Exactly. So it was about that time, and we placed a body in there around January. And we started working on the iProcess deal. We started to build credibility in the account. I like what Steph had said to me when he asked me about the deal earlier. He said, you know, it's like a football game. You know, you have to have 5 yarders and 10 yarders. And what do? You soften up the defense so that you can go long. And what we did is we were softening up the defense by establishing ourselves as a vendor to do business with that can be trusted. So we told them right out of the top, they thought this was a 2-week BPM project.
Yeah.
Martin was very honest with them and told them, you're probably talking about 3 to 4 months. A lot of hesitation, because now you're talking about rates and costs and so forth, but we finally did get it. And, you know, knock on wood, it went well, we got the deal. Move forward fast to that. Because of that deal, we were then able to pick off another, about a couple hundred more licenses by process that we worked that deal through in the April-May timeframe. David had extra money in his account, so we were working that deal. In parallel, we were working with the CIO and her team on a big RFI. And that RFI was centering around messaging. It was centering around a BusinessWorks type of application, a bunch of adapters, HL7, which is used predominantly in healthcare, Teradata warehouse that they were going to be building. So they had a lot of needs for integration, and they had a lot of needs for standardization. As you bought all these hospitals, as you bought all of these new systems, they had old systems. They had to start bringing it together so that they could start to take advantage of efficiencies and start to scale as they started their growth patterns. So we got into an RFI with them in the February-March timeframe. Stuart worked lots of hours on it. I did my piece, you know, salesperson, corporate address, and then the rest was done by Stuart. So I must give him a lot of credit. Oh man, I'll tell you. But we worked on it. We sort of laughed about it because it was all-encompassing, from metrics to analytics. But we realized that the crux of it and what they really needed in there was going to be active matrix BPM, ESB type products, or enterprise messaging services buses, and then, you know, a lot of other things to go with it. So that went on for months, really back and forth, and we were building in that time. That went from visiting once a month to visiting once a week.
I know, you,
Right?
you spent a lot of time there.
Well, yeah, I actually lived there most of July and August, 2 to 3 days a week. Found a lovely hotel out there. It's called the Pine Park. It was
The
Arnold
only.
Palmer, the only hotel out there. It's on the base of the campus. Arnold Palmer built it.
Oh, yeah?
Right, for all the golfers that go out. There's a lot of golf that takes place out there.
Okay.
I mean, there's not a lot to do out there. So people play golf, and that was one of the hotels that was there. Perfect for doctors, by the way, all the golf, because Wednesday, that's where they're all receiving their assignment.
Okay.
But we started working on that. We started learning the internal process.
Okay.
We started to meet the players, what we consider to be the key players. And we started building, I thought, a great solution. We were competing at the time, important to note. Oracle was there, IBM was there, Informatica was there. The CIO came in from Boston, and a group of them came in from Boston. She was a very, very big proponent of Oracle because she'd had a lot of success. But to our benefit, she did know of us because of the work that we'd done in Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts, which are two big Boston accounts that we have. So she was familiar with us, but she didn't know us well, and we had to just continue building the relationship. Through the iProcess piece that we were doing for her, I was getting to know her and her team.
Yeah.
We became very strongly aligned with their chief architect, and really he helped us, and it's always good to have people like that back channeling, because we were able to get a lot of information about what was happening in the account over months.
And was he telling you about what the competition was doing?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. It turned out that he had worked at Care First, so it
Okay.
shows how the deals that we have can build new deals because the people we've dealt with deal other places. So it's always
And they
good to
move
find
around.
out, find out their history, who they are, where they were, and that's what we found out
You might
about
want to
him.
collaborate with Chris Diaz, because I think he manages Care
It's
First.
a good idea, because there's opportunities back now going on in some of the blues that Raj is starting to feed to me. Like, for example, I just heard Informatica is up in Rhode Island working with Blue Cross Blue Shield for a big deal up there. That's MDM deal. I just heard about that like in the last day, so I got to get, so thanks for reminding me, I got to get Chris Diaz. But you
Yeah,
see
I
how
like
these
that.
things hit each other, right? Nothing is by itself.
Sure.
So we were able to do that, and in June, I remember sitting in front of my management team, and we were talking about the Geisinger opportunity, and we were forecasting about $500,000. But we talked about there being a lot more there, that we felt that if we could win the SOA side of the house, we could also win the BPM side of the house. And we just started, and we started executing. We did a proof of concept. We were able to really start to get much, much closer than through all of these processes. And then around July, when we really realized that there is a shot to bring this deal in, we knew that we were probably better than 50-50 to win the deal. But the next issue was, how do we bring it into the quarter? So I was able to set up meetings and brought in Rich Stocker, and I introduced him to the CIO. Kathy Bennett. I also introduced him to a person called Crystal Cameron, who turned out to be
1 minute left. Sorry, I didn't charge up the battery very well.
There you have it. Sort of like life, isn't it?
Right.
But Crystal Cameron also turned out to be the rogue agent, it turned out. But by having Rich in there and making those relationships, when we got to the point of actually the negotiations, we had gone back and forth configurations, negotiations, but when the rubber hit, I like to say the crap hit the fan,
Right, because it's so much more appealing.
we had these relationships built.